Hi, my name is Dylan, and in this video I will tell you the story of a MEG game I played recently in TableTop Simulator. I played a Seleucid list based on actual miniatures I have in my collection. I wanted to get an idea of how this army would do, just in case I ever meet an actual human being in the real world to play MEG with. Like many successor lists before it, this list is a combination of pike, pretty good cavalry, and filler infantry. In my case, the filler infantry are Thracians and Galatian mercenaries. I also have a unit of Thuriophoroi. Let me know if you know the right way to pronounce that word. Mostly because when I was painting the physical version of the game, or physical version of this army, I should say, I got a little burned out on painting pike blocks, right? And I had these Thuriophoroi lying around. I would probably replace this unit with another phalanx someday. My opponent is using one of Tommy's lists, the late Republican Romans with Numidian ally. The Romans are fairly elite with one exceptional tug, 4 superiors, and 1 average. The Numidians have the obligatory nobles and skilled javelin light cav.
Uh-oh.
You're moving my guys.
I am moving your guys, but they've got the problem.
I had to do some quick surgery to make these guys, these Numidians here, work with the movement tool. If you want to know more about how that works, check out my video on the movement tool. It delayed the game a bit, so again, I recommend you check out stuff like this in advance of the time you schedule to play a game. I was the attacker. We had the coastal terrain type. I decided I wanted to narrow the battlefield to slow down those Numidians. We ended up with a deep water secure flank on one side and some mountains and vineyards actually on the other. We did the out scouting, or we did the I should call it's the scouting phase, right? It turned out it was the out scouting phase for one of us.
That sucks. Twice as many cards, and they're all black.
Super quite out scouted by the
man.
But we did it out of order. I'm a little rusty on the PBS, but John's cards were comically bad in the out scouting segment there, and I ended up out scouting him by 40% in spite of him having many more cards than I did. Speaking of comedy, when we got to deployment, I deployed on the center line instead of my own deployment line. And neither of us caught it until almost the first turn. Luckily, we did notice that eventually. Neither of us were at our peak mental fitness level, I think, as late at night as we were trying to play this. The Romans have made a thin and mostly red line. Nubians are on my right, where I have my skirmishers and cavalry to counter them. This was my plan. I decided to have the cataphracts support the infantry line. John's placement of his average legion, the ones with the blue shields there, where he did, I think that was a mistake on his part. My thinking was that the cataphracts were too slow to have a chance of catching the Numidians, and the average legionnaires, where they were a good target for those cataphracts. I thought my Suggs and the companion cavalry and the terrain also would slow down the Numidians long enough to neutralize their impact. And if I got lucky, maybe the companions would catch some of the Nubians, and I always dream about them turning around and hitting those Romans in the flank. I kept my filler units deep to hold out against the Romans, the Galatians and the Thuriophoroi, and those guys there were in 2x4s. The Thracians are 9, so they were in a 3x3. Skirmishers. I wish I could say that on the first turn I was trying to go John in so my Cretan archers could, get the perfect shot off on them and whatnot, but I really just couldn't decide what to do with my Suggs initially, and that's why they advanced kind of unevenly on the first turn. On turn 2 or 3, our lines collided, and that war of attrition began. Got no useful shoves or any real luck on these first turns.
I'm not looking forward to the
I know.
Versus
the 10th legionaries.
Alrighty. Let's try these other collations here. Let's do again, it's yellow, white. And I got nothing.
I got a wound.
But the casualties were light, really, for both of us. Then it was way past our bedtimes. We are old men, and we were tired, so we resolved to finish this the next day, which we ended up doing in 2 sessions, which we will talk about next. And, so where were we at? We were at the beginning of turn. You're the active player. The cards have already been dealt. And the next thing is the charge phase. The very next day, we resumed the battle. I thought my Suggs would last another turn over there on my right-hand side, but... Okay, so it's greater than 1, so 2 bases plus 1 wound for a 6 base.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so am I there? I've lost... No, 1 wound is all it takes to eliminate them now. So
Got it.
Yeah, that's the deal. All right, so I'm going to shoot back with my... I'm going to use this one, right, which could be... that was not to be. John had some really good shooting dice, and they all evaporated pretty much at once. It was the turn after that the first Roman unit was routed. It was not the average guys with the blue shields over there on the end, in fact, but was one of the superior legions. I got some good shoves in that turn, and it was more than they could handle. So at this point, it seems like the phalanxes are beginning to win the war of attrition, but the question is, can they defeat the Romans, right? Can we break them before those Numidians can be brought to bear? I'm a little afraid. He actually did a wheel here is one of the last things he did with them. I was actually more afraid that they would run off after the camp or something like that, but I guess he's out for blood. So it's, we've got to break them. Well, as always in MEG, we have to break them before they break us, right? But we're trying to break them again before those Numidians can do anything useful. So we then paused yet again with the goal to resume in a couple hours, and that's where we will take up the story next.
It could be a 1 more turn situation. There's definitely a good chance of that, I think.
Now, our 3rd session. We kept thinking it would be just 1 more turn, but instead, it was 2 more hours and maybe 3 more turns.
Okay.
But I do have an intent to move this general because he doesn't want to go with him. He's got other things to do in other places.
He's busy. He's a busy general.
In the subsequent turns. And also, I didn't want my general because this unit here's got a good chance of becoming a pincushion, right? With all those javelins they're about to take to the face.
That's not where he wants to be.
It's not where he wants to be.
He's going to roll really well.
Exactly. He's
That'll
like,
be a
good
bad
luck,
day
guys.
for him."
Good luck. I'm going to see ya. I got some business over here. I'm going to go check on the cataphracts. I'm going to check on the cataphracts. I'll be right back. Yeah.
They look like they need some attention.
Yep.
We continued trading blows. I had a phalanx who had pursued a broken unit that was moving around the rear of the 10th Legion. Actually made a mistake maneuvering this thing. Should have made a 180, but instead I made a 90 with it. If it had made a 180, I think it would have been able to charge, or in the charge phase it would have had 2 files contact, but the way I did it, only 1 file was able to contact in the charge phase. But still, the Romans on my right looked like they were doomed. The Numidians were significantly delayed by those mountains. My companions kind of outmaneuvered them, right? Chasing off the nobles, which were a decent target there. But all of this was to change. The Romans made a comeback. In the final turn, things looked bad for the Greeks. 10th Legion killed all before it and only took a wound or 2 from the rear charge. Cataphracts ended up just out of charge range, so they didn't really have a target in the final turn. I was the active player in the last turn, but Rome had better opportunities to break units, I felt, in the melee phase. So, as soon as they chose a file, I think they were going to end the game. Then, something completely unexpected happened.
So,
I
but
should've-
again, you can run away or skirmish. If you skirmish, then it's -2 base widths of movement, right? So you'll move away slower if you quote unquote skirmish. Like take your shots at full strength and all that.
Because otherwise, do I just move a flat full base width or full movement?
Well,
Like, do I even roll
yeah,
in that case?
No, you still roll, right? But you don't have that -2 modifier on top of the roll.
Got it.
So what you doing?
I'm gonna skirmish.
Okay. All right. So roll your two
White dice.
White dice. Yep. Let's see if you slow me down at all.
I got a wound on you.
A wound. All right.
Does that count as a slow, or is it not?
It counts towards the total, but you got to. Oh, I think it is a -1 because I'm 2 base widths. I think it's equal to or less than half of my frontage. So I think it slows me down by 1. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. Okay, and now here comes the dice roll to see how far I move.
6. Oh, gonna go extra far.
Nah, I didn't want to go extra far.
Let's see how far extra far is. 6. Add 1. So you're at 6 -1. You're gonna move 5 off. 5.
That's enough to move them off.
Unsucceeded table edge during the runaway or skirmish move are treated as follows. If a side table edge or your opponent's rear edge, turn and wheel or move along, blah blah. If the slug reaching your rear edge, they are lost and removed from the game. I think that's it, man.
Oh, man. Chase.
I can't believe it. That's how. That's how it ends. Oh, man. That's nuts.
Numidian Nobles just ran away, and everybody was like,
Oh,
wait
shoot.
a second.
We lost. It's over.
We're totally. Once the Numidian Nobles leave the field, you might as well just hang up your hat.
Man.
So the companions do one final charge on the Numidian Nobles. The nobles elect to skirmish, thinking the -2 base widths of movement will keep them from running off the board. They will only run off the board on that variable move roll of a 6, right, which adds 1 base width. Well, that's exactly what they rolled.
I don't know. Those rolls were tough. I thought, I don't know. There were times where I thought, like, I'm doing pretty good. And then, I don't know. It didn't work out. I did win, but, yeah, it was bloody and very close. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how much
Nice
closer it could have
edge.
been. Because,
Yeah.
like, we were like, there was like multiple things that could happen within this one turn. It was like whichever one of them happened first was going to end.
yeah.
Like within the turn, it wasn't going to end at the end of the turn. It was like within the turn, it was going to end. That's
Yes.
about as close as you can get.
Definitely.
But it was a good battle. I enjoyed. I'm not sure what caused me to be willing to start doing some wheeling and stuff. Was it, the controls, perhaps, or maybe I'm just finally getting to the point where I'm ready to start doing some of that. But I mean, obviously the mountains weren't helpful, but
I wondered about those mountains. I put those mountains down. I'm like, did I screw myself somehow because they didn't have room to maneuver my cavalry? But honestly, there's not much I can do against all those skirmishers because they're just going to run away and shoot me and stuff, and I'm just going to honestly lose my cavalry probably to those skirmishers because they're quite hard to deal with. And the mountains turned out to be a good way of dealing with them because it kept them from just running rampant all over my side of the table,
yeah.
One thing I wondered, I didn't give you this idea, but you know what you might have been able to do after you vaporized my skirmishers is you start running from my camp.
I was thinking about that,
Which
and
is
honestly,
back
in retrospect, I might have been able to make the distance. I thought about it. For what it's worth, it did occur to me. I just didn't bother to do it because I didn't think I was going to make the distance because I thought the game was going to end so much earlier. Kind of like when I just decided to just not even bother moving these guys, although in that case I was right. The game did end before that was relevant.
Yep.
But it was, that was a consideration. And what is the base? What is your camp fight like, or what is it?
It's bad.
How does that work?
It's like poor, the quality is poor. You know how your guys are like average, and it's below average. It's like unprotected. It's about as bad as it can be. So you could have pulled up there and just like thrown a few javelins, and it would just catch fire and die. Like it would have been, easy pickings. The old camp there.
And that's worth a tug, right?
It's worse. It's worth a tug, and then every unit in the army has to take a cap test.
Oh shit.
So it's bad news to lose your camp.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. I think I should have considered that more seriously. Yeah. Okay. The fact that every unit in the army takes a cap test is basically gold. I mean, there's not a lot of ways you're going to get a chance to take a swipe at everybody just free. Okay. Next time, I'll think more about that.
The other thing that you might have done differently, honestly, is either those average guys. I don't know if they should have been even fighting in the line. Like you could just have them like in the back hanging out as cheerleaders, or at least put them. I don't know how big was that unit. Was it an 8 unit to start with, or 6?
Legionaries, one of, I don't know. I forget. I feel like it was a 6.
All right. Yeah. Well, definitely. If I was going to use them in the line at all, I think they would have been better off as like a 2x3 as opposed to a 3x2.
Give them a little bit of depth,
give them more
so they don't die quite so fast.
They don't, have so many people whacking on them. It's the same kind of thing that I did with the Gauls. I mean, the Gauls were lost eventually. I mean, I know they're not going to hold up, right? But by putting them in a 2x4, right, making them 4 deep, I know that they're going to hold out probably for at least 4 turns, or maybe 3 turns. Right, but they're going to have some staying power when they have the depth like that.
Looking back at this, the Seleucid list wasn't terrible. It did win, but I think it would not have done as well against an experienced player in the same matchup. Neither of us get to play Meg that often, but I have played a bit more than John. Ultimately, I think I got lucky. Hope you enjoyed this, especially if you watched it all the way to the end. I may do more MEG Battle Reports in the future if I have time. Thanks for watching.